So you're playing Genshin, you've been doing some 10 pulls, and you got 5-star Bennett. Now, what do you get with Bennett besides the unluckiest character in all of Genshin? Well, Bennett is a sword-wielding pyro user who will never have his kit replicated again because Hoyo realized that they messed up making him as good as he is. And in this video, we're going to look at the basics of Bennett, how his skill works, how his burst works, why he's so broken. So, first thing that we're going to do is we're going to look at the current Bennett that we are using over here. The current Bennett that we are using in this video. My Bennett is level 90 out of 90 with 27,000 HP, 1700 attack, 63 EM. His crit split 29.5 over 186.6 with 190 energy recharge. For a weapon, he is running a level 90 Mist Splitter. For artifacts, 4-piece noblesse, of course. For seed constellations, he is C6. For talents, 1, 8, 13, his burst is crowned. Now my Benny is pretty well built, I use him a lot. But real quick, we're gonna look at his passives. The first one decreases his skill cooldown by 20%. Second one, within the area created by his burst, his skill takes on the following effects. The cooldown is reduced even further, and he will not be launched by the effects of charge level 2, which we will talk about what that actually means. Now, because my Bennett is C6, I do want to real quick run through his constellations, but in the next video, the Artifact Grinding Hell, we're going to talk more about C6 and why it's so controversial. C1 is going to no longer restrict his attack buff from his burst to the HP of the character on the field. We'll talk about that whenever we get to his burst, as well as making it a little stronger. C2, when Bennett's HP falls below 70%, his ER is increased by 30%. C3 is going to be normal. C4 just improves his personal damage, kind of. C5 is normal. C6, controversial, gonna give an increase in pyro damage inside of his burst, going to infuse pole-arm claymore sword users with pyro. We'll talk more about C6 and what it means in the next video. But first, we're gonna go look at his skill and his burst. So, Benny's normal attacks are going to be normal. They're just going to be doing normal physical damage. There's nothing special about them. His charge attack is going to do the flurry just like most other sword characters. Now his skill is going to have a tap, a hold, and a longer hold, kind of. So if you just tap his skill, it's going to do an instance of pyro damage. He's just going to swing his sword and do pyro damage, but it gives him a lot of energy. This is actually a really good skill. If you notice, the cooldown doesn't last a long time because of his passives, but this is really good for building up energy for his burst, as well as kind of using him to battery other characters, which I do for my Dia. If we hold it down to the first time that it gleams, it is going to do 2 slashes of pyro damage. If we hold it down till it's fully charged, it is going to do several slashes, ending with Benny being sent flying back. So his skill is pretty straightforward, just doing instances of pyro damage, giving energy to Benny. His burst is where his true amazingness 5-star capabilities lie. His burst is going to do an instance of pyro damage, so it's going to heal your current character up to 70% and then give them an attack buff. It doesn't give the attack buff until your character on the field is above 70% HP. With C1, it gets rid of that caveat. It will heal them and give them the attack buff. It'll also increase the attack buff from the C1. So that's what these arrows on whatever character is sitting inside here, that's those upward arrows, that's what that is, the attack buff. Now, if we do his skill and we hold it down all the way inside of his burst, you notice it's no longer going to give a kickback. It is also going to decrease the cooldown time of his skill if Benny is standing in his burst. So you can just kind of spam his skill every like 2 seconds, which can be really, really good for him to build up energy. And that's it. That's his kit. But it's so broken. It's so good. Benny is very, very good. He's a great healer and a great buffer. Now, real quick, we are going to talk about 2 more things that involved on his burst. His healing is based on his max HP. We're going to talk more about that whenever we get to his artifact sets. His buff, his attack buff, comes from his base attack, meaning it is Benny's base attack and the base attack of the weapon that you have equipped onto him. So you want a really, really high base attack weapon. So we want to build him somewhat for HP, somewhat for base attack, right? Now we're going to look at a beginner artifact set. So for a beginner or early game artifact set, just running like 4-piece Exile is going to be really, really good for Benny because we want to have his burst up as much as possible. Exile is going to help us to do that, and it's also going to give energy to our other characters. For main stats, energy recharge sands is probably going to be more important, or attack sands. Energy recharge, because his buff doesn't give extra if you have an attack sands, you can go energy recharge. It's gonna decrease his personal damage, but allow him to have his burst up more often if you do like an ER sands. So for Goblet, pyro damage if you want Benny to increase his personal damage, HP if you want him to heal more. You can do a hybrid build, you can do a pure healing build, you can do a pure buffing build. Hybrid tends to be what most people go for, where they'll do like an ER Sands, HP Goblet, crit rate or crit damage circlet, or another HP circlet. That's going to be more of a healing, but if you do like a crit damage circlet like I have, it's going to increase his personal damage. Now for weapons, everybody gets a prototype Rancor. This weapon, while it's passive and its secondary stat isn't going to be super good, the base stat is going to be good. The base attack is going to be very, very good. It's going to actually be high for Benny, which is really, really good. It's a free weapon. Everybody has access to it. If you don't want to use prototype Rancor, you always can do like Favonius, which is good. You can do Sapwood, which is craftable. However, you do have to get all the R and R to get Sapwood. So that one's like kind of debatable. Now, something else, you do have 4-star Alley Flash. This is his best 4-star, or one of his best 4-stars, because it has one of the highest base attacks of all 4-star swords. If you're looking for a 3-star option, you do of course have Skyward Blade that gives ER. We are going to talk more about teams whenever we get to the Artifact Grinding Hell video, which should be tomorrow. This is much more, like I said, of his basics guide. I do, however, want to point out that Benny and Farina are broken together, right? Benny is going to give the attack buff of your character on the field. His healing is also going to allow for Farina's fanfare stacks with her burst, and Farina is going to be vampiring everybody's HP down, so that way Benny can then heal him back up. You have a very good synergy with Farina, Benny, Kazuha. You can pretty much put anybody in that third slot, fourth slot, not anybody, but you can put a lot of characters in that fourth slot. Like I use Dia. This is one of my best built teams. Having Dia in my team, running the Abyss, 36-star in the Abyss. It's great because of Farina, Kazuha, and Benny, what they do for Dia, or what kind of they do for Farina. But anyway, they make a very, very good combination together, those three. Another instance where I use my Benny is going to be my Raiden Hypercarry team with Raiden, C6 Zara, Chevy, and C6 Benny. C6 Benny, like I said, we'll talk more about this Constellation 6 in the next video, but Raiden doesn't care about the C6. It doesn't hurt her. Dia, it helps. Once you start getting into other teams, it can start to actually hurt them, which is where you need to make your decision as to whether or not you're going to C6 your Benny. But in this team, giving all of these attack buffs over to my Raiden allows her to hit 330k, 500k. I think the highest I've hit with her is 519k at C0 Raiden, which is crazy. But Benny is super, super good. Even in that team, he's going to be really, really good. Benny is good in a lot of teams. That is going to be it for this video. If you have any questions, do be sure to leave it down in the comments. Myself or somebody else will be sure to answer it, and I'll see you in the next one.